Hey everyone, my name is Michael, and this is my short. I'm going to try and keep a short video of my summary on my community scan. And so, for starters, I live in Washington State, but I plan on moving here within the next, let's say, year and a half, probably half a year, sometime maybe this summer or later this fall. And so I've chosen Utah as one of my top choices to move to. And so without further ado, here's my summary. I chose to branch outside of my home state of Washington because I have plans, like I said, to move down to the Southwest. Any state like Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, Arizona, but as I mentioned, Utah is my top choice. The data I collected covers the majority of the urban part of Utah, which is the Salt Lake City area, and the demographics within the entire state are similar in numbers with their neighboring states such as New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, and in corresponding to the education and income, I came to the realization that income and education were the top two, important parts of this summary. I can say that Salt Lake City, I found out that 25% of all children are living in poverty, and just about 9% of the entire population of Utah, which is about 2,987,000 people, are living within that poverty line. As for education, those with high school diplomas is at a staggering 92%, so it's a pretty high successful rate of high school graduates. So only about 8% are not graduating. Utah holds on to one of the lowest high school dropout rates, as I just mentioned. They are third best in the region of the 8 states, which is pretty darn good. The percent that surprised me was that only 34% of the population of Salt Lake City has either a college degree or some form of higher education. Kind of seems low, but in reality, it is in fact about 2% better than the U.S. average per state. Let's see. Sorry, reading my notes here. Within the last 25 years, to continue with Salt Lake City's education sector, I was surprised at the number of schools being offered within the confines of the city itself. Over about 1,300 schools are available for families, whether that is for a private sector or a public sector or charter. Among those schools, about 1,200 are private and charter schools, and then the rest are made up of public schools. To cap off my research regarding Salt Lake City's, they provide high school graduates and out-of-state prospects the opportunity to attend 8 universities or 8 tech and trade schools. As for the challenges, the discoveries that made or that challenged my assumptions and pushed my thinking has to do with the economy of Utah. As I discovered, I wanted to highlight the metro area of Utah, so pretty much all of Salt Lake City. It's a very big city, but essentially their economy is pretty stable, and my assumptions of Utah were just honestly based off of family and friends that live there, but also just it's virtually a lot of Utah is just tons of rural land, and Salt Lake City is the major city. And so with that in mind, for research, I've come to find out that the median income of an individual ranks third amongst the 8 states within that north, south, central, west coast. And the median income of an individual is about $48,000, and a combined income is around $71,000, only below Colorado's combined family income of $72,300. I was a little shocked to find out that the majority of leading income ages is between 45 and 64, but only behind them are those below 35 and below 45 and above 25, and they're only roughly around 78,000. So the vast majority of income earners are those who are 45 and between 65 years old, and they make about $89,000 a year. And I like I mentioned, I had always thought Utah was not the greatest place to make a decent salary or living income, but I knew that Salt Lake City has a lot of incredible I guess characteristics, and such as that it's very family centered. The vast majority of the I would say residents are fairly young, but you do have a...
Hey everyone, sorry I had to change locations here, but I'm gonna finish this video kind of quickly, but I want to just say that the characteristics, as I mentioned before, that really make up Utah is that it's very family centered. It's a great place to start a family. It's a very well-known place for tourism, seeing that it is home of several national parks, so it's visited very often, which keeps the economy growing. A vast majority of Salt Lake City is is home to the Mormon church, those who are part of the LDS community, and it's just one of those states that is very, like I mentioned, very family oriented. So with that being said, the things that kind of surprised me through the community scan of Utah was the employment rate. According to statistics, the unemployment annual rate is around a small fraction. I think it's like 2.4% of those in Utah, of the population of Utah is only at 2.4%. Out of all the other states, they are the lowest within the South, Northwest, Central, Pacific Northwest, and they are their infrastructure and economy is doing very, very well compared to the other states. I'm seeing that New Mexico, their neighboring state, is at a staggering 19.8% of their entire population is in that poverty line. And so the age group that kind of a little surprised me, though, I mean, kind of doesn't really surprise me, are those that are young professionals. So anyone between the ages of 18 and 35 are in fact in that poverty line, but I can only assume that they are in that poverty line for various reasons, and one of the biggest reasons is possibly the idea that they're paying off student loans. They're just starting out in their careers, so they're not in that stage of life where they're 15-20 years into their career making a significant amount of money. But with that being said, I think it's a true testament that the economy and the infrastructure in Utah is very stable, and I'm excited to if I do end up moving there, it's a good sign, and that I can make a livable wage, as well as consider making that state home for a while, and actually make a living. So difference of empathy through the social enterprise and just like the impact of the community. I wrote down that Utah, signifies unity through community. And I know that sounds super like cliche, but in all reality, through the research that I looked at and just the history behind the state lawmakers, the government leaders within Utah, they do truly try and provide a significant amount of education resources, parental resources, assistance, government funding, and just professional growth and development programs. Based on the research that I, read off of the resource that was provided for us through our readings, and I got the notion that Utah is in fact just doing their best to try and run a state that has a stable infrastructure, both on a economical and educational level. Overall reflection of the community scan was, very positive. I've never really done a project where I have to go and dig deep into a demographic, point of view for a state, even just a city. I've never really done that before. Throughout my few years here at ASU, I've done a few projects where I did do some simple demographic research, but this was a little bit more in depth, which I really enjoyed. There's a lot of information that I learned, especially within the education I would say sector of Utah. There's a significant amount of schools just within that small metropolitan area, over 2,300 schools available, whether it was pre-K through 12th grade, and the fact that a 96% graduation rate for high schoolers is pretty incredible, and that they truly try and catapult you into getting to higher education, although it could be better. Seeing that only 34% are in fact going into higher education, I think that a vast majority are getting the assistance that they need at that high school level. So, and pre-K, but as well as the family side of growth and development. But with that all being said, I really did enjoy this project, and hopefully you learned a little bit about Utah and the demographics and what I've said, and I'm excited to learn everybody else's ideas, as well as your comments, and learning about the different demographics of all the states that we've chosen. So thank you, and looking forward to learning about what you guys have to say.